Hello everyone. Welcome to the official channel of Six Path Weeb. Thank you for joining me as we continue our fanfiction journey. Today's video features part 3 of our ongoing story, Naruko and Team 7. Disclaimer, the content presented on this channel is intended solely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not claim ownership of any anime footage used in this video. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's begin. It was just a few minutes before 4 in the morning, and Naruko and her sensei were waiting at training ground 38. Now Naruko, before I introduce you to Guy, you have to promise. I promise not to imitate him in any way, shape, or form, except for the taijutsu he teaches me and maybe parts of his work ethic. For the 392nd time, I promise, okay? Can we please move on now? What's so serious that I've had to promise 392 times? Asuma-sensei removed his fingers from his ears with a small sigh. It's not easy to explain in words. I'm sorry to put you through this, but Mito Guy, despite his energy, is possibly the greatest taijutsu instructor in the world. He'll be able to help you in ways I never could. They're coming, get ready. That's when Naruko noticed a dust cloud rapidly approaching their location. Moments later, the sound of energetic voices echoed toward them. Youth. Lee, the spirit of this new morning burns with great promise. Yes, Guy-sensei. Today I meet another determined soul of hard work and perseverance. Naruko blinked in confusion. What? She thought, before finally catching sight of the speakers. There were no words that could fully describe the pair. She turned to ask Asuma-sensei for guidance, only to find he had silently disappeared. Ah. You must be the enthusiastic Naruko-kun. My dear friend Asuma has asked me to help ignite your youthful potential and guide you in the ways of taijutsu. I am Konoha's noble blue beast, Mito Guy. And this is my cherished student, Rock Lee. Eyebrows. So many eyebrows. Naruko-kun. Chirped the mini guy, join us in our morning training. Let's greet this day with effort and positivity. Naruko almost reconsidered. Almost. But the thought of learning something truly valuable helped her stay. Drawing on her resolve, formed from many challenges, she grinned. Sure. I'm in. An hour and a half later, she was standing alongside the two energetic shinobi in training ground 6. Her breathing was a bit heavy after a long run, followed by 1,000 each of push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and squats. A short break would fix that. Unfortunately, she didn't get one. Youth. Naruko-kun, to complete our full warm-up is a sign that your spirit burns brightly, just as Asuma said. Lee was beside her, eyes sparkling with admiration. In that moment, Naruko made a decision. As eccentric as they were, these two were important now, just like Ino, Kiba, Sakura, Asuma-sensei, the third Hokage, and Konohamaru. Her world of important people had grown, and today she added 2 more. Now, before we move on, said Guy-sensei with unusual calm, I have something for you. He handed her 2 sets of metal bracelets, one slightly larger than the other. These are basic chakra weights. They work in a special way, but rather than explain, I'll let you feel it yourself. Put them on your wrists and ankles, and slowly channel chakra into them. Naruko did as instructed. As she focused her chakra, her limbs felt heavier. Stop when walking feels slightly effortful, Guy instructed. About 10 seconds later, Naruko nodded. Excellent. Since I don't yet know which taijutsu style best suits you, these weights are designed to distribute extra resistance evenly. Wear them always. When they no longer feel challenging, add more chakra. As Guy paused, Naruko raised her hand. Guy-sensei, if they make me heavier, won't that be a problem when I'm tree hopping? Some branches might not hold the weight. Guy chuckled. Good question. These weights only feel heavier to you. To everything else, they weigh the same as regular bracelets. Then his tone shifted. Now. Asuma told me that someone poorly guided your taijutsu for several years. Please show me your current stance. Naruko shifted into the form Mizuki had taught her. Guy-sensei's expression darkened, but not at her. The disapproval wasn't hidden well. Does that stance feel right to you, Naruko? He asked gently. Naruko took a moment, then shook her head. No, not really. Good. That means we don't have to unlearn it. Now, take a stance that does feel right. She bent her knees at a 45-degree angle, right foot pointing forward, left turned outward. Her legs were spaced a little more than shoulder width apart. She leaned forward slightly, pulled her shoulders back, and raised her arms, one forward, one closer to her side, both bent. Her hands were loose, balanced between open and closed. The stance took her under a second to enter. Guy-sensei's eyes widened. For just a second, something like shock crossed his face, disbelief, confusion, recognition, amazement, and then focus. "I believe I know which style is best for you," he said at last. "It's called the dancing wave fist. I won't explain the details today, but I'm the only one left who knows enough to teach it. That stance you just entered? It's the heart of this entire style. Watch closely." He moved to a training log and demonstrated: right punch, left punch, switch stance, then left punch, right punch, and back to original form. "Your turn." Naruko copied him. Guy stood behind her, gently adjusting her form. He explained the finer points: how to align her body, how her arms should move, and the exact part of the hand that should make contact. He ensured every detail was just right. "Excellent. Now keep repeating that sequence. Do it as many times as you can with perfect form. When you begin to get tired, stop and let me know. I'll be working with Lee for now." "Understood, Guy-sensei," Naruko replied, then returned to her task, the steady sound of her fists tapping would echoing through the trees. Meanwhile, Rock Lee felt a bit disappointed. When Guy-sensei had told him yesterday that a new student would join them, his excitement had soared. He had hoped to find a new sparring partner, maybe even a rival. And after learning about Naruko's journey and the challenges she had overcome, he was even more inspired. But now, even though they trained together, they weren't training together. "Lee." Guy-sensei's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "Something is bothering you." Of course Guy-sensei could sense it. "Sensei, I feel disappointed. Why won't you let me spar with Naruko-kun?" Guy-sensei's eyes softened. "Ah, so that's it. You see Naruko-kun's passion and want to challenge her spirit. But right now, a match between the two of you wouldn't benefit either of you. Naruko-kun's earlier training lacked the guidance she deserved. But, give her 1 week. Then, I'll allow the two of you to spar." Lee's eyes sparkled with joy. "Oh, 1 week? Really, sensei?" Guy-sensei grinned. Then, with a radiant pose, he shouted, "Ha! Not only do I mean it." He struck the nice guy pose. "I promise." Guy-sensei. "Lee." Guy-sensei. "Lee." They embraced tightly, joyful tears streaming down their faces under the soft glow of the setting sun. "Now, Lee," Guy-sensei declared with enthusiasm as they returned to the training field, "show me how much you've grown since yesterday." "Yosh." Both took up a basic Goken stance and dashed forward, bursting with energy. Guy-sensei was truly an inspiring example of the strength found in youthful determination. Every time he sparred with the Jonin, it was as if his spirit radiated from him like a tangible force. And this, they knew, was only a fraction of his true potential. As teacher and student exchanged a steady rhythm of punches, kicks, and agile movements, Lee renewed his personal goal, to one day reach his mentor's level of brilliance. Lost in the joy of practice, both moved with harmony and precision. "That's enough, Lee," Guy-sensei called out. "Already?" Time had flown. Then Guy-sensei's expression turned serious. "I'm concerned about Naruko-chan. Have you noticed? She hasn't paused her strikes even once." Indeed, the steady rhythm of fist striking had continued without interruption throughout their entire spar. They made their way to the part of the field where the blonde kunoichi trained. Lee's eyes widened in awe. Naruko stood in a new stance, repeating a focused punch-back punch-step motion with intensity unlike anything he'd seen before. The sheer dedication in her expression made it seem as though the entire world had vanished, leaving only her movements. The training log had been worn down several inches, and her knuckles showed clear signs of strain. Yet she continued with calm determination, only briefly wincing when her fists made contact. "Naruko. Please stop," Guy-sensei called out, worry laced in his voice. Naruko paused, turning to look at him with puzzled eyes. "Is something wrong, sensei?" Guy-sensei gently explained that pushing too hard could lead to injury and fatigue, and Naruko insisted she was all right. Still, her teacher pointed to her worn hands, and Naruko simply gave a small shrug and replied, "It'll get better." "Lee. Let's begin cool-down exercises now. I have something I must speak to Hokage-sama about after we're done. Naruko-chan, tomorrow I'll bring you a scroll with details on the dancing wave fist. For now, let's run with the energy of youth." By the end of the cool-downs, Naruko was utterly exhausted. Though the routine had been half the intensity of the warm-ups, the chakra weights added enough challenge to push her limits alongside Lee and Guy-sensei. Still, She couldn't deny how amazing the chakra weights were. They allowed her to achieve a level of physical focus she hadn't experienced in years. Well, see you tomorrow, Guy-sensei, Lee, she said between heavy breaths. Indeed, my spirited new friend, Guy replied, striking a bright pose. Yosh. Lee, let your team know I will arrive late. Now, the springtime of youth dash. And just like that, the duo disappeared into the distance. Naruko blinked, shaking her head with a grin. Incredible. Now, she had about 15 minutes to rest before meeting with Ino and Kiba. They'd definitely enjoy hearing about her training experience. Wait. Where were they meeting again? Dash. The next day, Guy-sensei kept his promise and gave her the scroll. Naruko used it as her assigned reading during Asuma-sensei's class. Although it didn't include detailed moves, Guy had said she shouldn't try practicing unsupervised. It explained the purpose and principles of the style. The dancing wave fist, Naruko thought, was truly amazing. It emphasized swift and flowing offense, designed to take advantage of even the smallest opening. Defense came from agile movements or simply continuing forward, relying on speed and resilience instead of blocking. That alone made it unique. One of the most interesting parts was how close range the style was, up close and personal, right in the opponent's space. It kept the hands in a halfway position, ready for swift grabs or counters. And best of all, it was designed to incorporate ninjutsu. The positioning of the hands made forming hand signs easier and quicker. The idea of combining this with her shadow clones thrilled her. If she hadn't been doing push-ups with Guy-sensei and Lee at the time, she might have jumped for joy. Then she saw something that made her pause, the author of the scroll. Namikaze Minato. She was learning a style created by the fourth Hokage himself. That was incredible. Throughout the week, Naruko focused on learning the foundational strikes and movements. Guy-sensei never let her repeat the same exercise too long, encouraging variety and growth. She also adjusted to the warm-up and cool-down routines, and by the 5th day, even needed to increase the weight level as her strength improved. Guy-sensei had also explained an important concept. Every so often, she should train without the weights to understand her natural limits. Adjusting mid-battle could be tricky without that experience. Naruko also received extra chakra weights from Guy for Ino and Kiba. Though theirs weren't as intense, they still helped, especially for improving Ino's stamina. Dash. At the end of the week, the moment Naruko had been eagerly waiting for finally arrived. She was going to spar with Lee. Having watched Lee train with Guy-sensei, she was eager to see how she measured up. Hey, fuzzy brows, ready for this? She asked, grinning playfully as she dropped into the dancing wave fist stance. My youthful spirit has long awaited this moment, Naruko-chan, Lee said, smiling brightly as he mirrored her in his Goken stance. Her body shifted into focus, muscles ready, chakra flowing steadily, the world narrowing to the field before her. Naruko loved this feeling. Everything was sharp, clear, and filled with purpose. Youth clash. Guy-sensei called, and with that, they began. Naruko opened with a swift right hook aimed at Lee's side. But the kick that came her way was so fast, it caught her off guard. She managed to reinforce the impact zone with chakra just in time. Though it ached, she held her ground. Lee's strength had sent her airborne, and she twisted to land on a nearby tree trunk. Her control wasn't perfect yet, but it was good enough to hold for a second. Lee launched toward her again, and Naruko pushed off to meet him mid-air. But Lee's speed once again won out. A mid-air spinning kick connected with her lower back, causing a brief spiral before she recovered with a handspring and twisted to face her opponent. Lee didn't pause. He was already coming at her again. Knowing she couldn't outmatch his speed just yet, Naruko opted to jump back. Still, she wasn't giving up. When they clashed again, she noticed Lee going for a direct punch. She narrowly dodged, twisted to his side, and threw a well-aimed elbow strike. Lee reacted quickly, reducing the impact by moving with the blow. Their match continued like this, Naruko focusing on reading Lee's movements and landing hits where she could, while Lee tested her reflexes and creativity. Though neither was gaining a clear advantage, the match was thrilling. Naruko knew Lee was faster and more experienced, but she wasn't ready to stop until she landed one good, solid hit. As they clashed again, Naruko did something different. She started a punch earlier than expected with her left hand. Lee was puzzled, then she shifted both hands briefly to form a hand sign. Henge. Normally, the Henge no Jutsu requires 3 hand signs, but if someone has practiced enough, like Naruko had, and Asuma-sensei had even mentioned her Henge was more refined than many elite jonin, then the first 2 signs can be skipped. With a puff of smoke, The blonde kunoichi kept most of her appearance the same, but elongated her left arm to nearly double its usual length. This type of transformation isn't commonly used during battles because the modified limb only has about 1/3 of its usual strength. Additionally, the more the transformed shape differs in size from the original, the more chakra it consumes. While Naruko didn't yet grasp the scientific explanation, she understood the basic idea: turning into something significantly bigger or smaller uses up a lot more energy. Still, since her objective here was just to land a single hit, and her chakra reserves were impressively high, these drawbacks weren't a concern. As she hoped, Lee had no time to react to the extended reach and was gently knocked backward from the impact. He landed several feet away, momentarily airborne, before regaining his stance. Another puff of smoke returned Naruko's arm to normal, and her focused expression softened into a friendly smile. Lee returned it, and it was clear from the mutual look they shared that their match had come to a peaceful conclusion for the day. "Excellent work, both of you," Guy-sensei commended, looking from one young ninja to the other. "Lee, perhaps now you see why I didn't have you spar with Naruko earlier. Without her current speed and skill, it would have been an unfair challenge." Though Naruko loved to compete, she knew Guy-sensei was right, and she refrained from arguing. "Naruko-chan," Guy continued, shifting his attention to the cheerful blonde, "I know you're proficient in the Cage Bunshin no Jutsu. May I ask why you chose not to use it today?" Naruko rubbed the back of her neck sheepishly. "Well, I figured since Fuzzy Brows can't use ninjutsu, it wouldn't be fair to use my own. I promised myself before the match that I'd keep it even. The henge I used at the end was just so I could land at least one solid hit." "While I appreciate your youthful spirit and sense of fairness toward my student," Guy replied warmly, "you must keep in mind that in real missions, holding back out of respect for an opponent could put me or my teammates in danger." "I know," Naruko interrupted respectfully. "But Lee's not my enemy, he's my friend. I'm going to face him like a friend, not like I'm in a life or death battle." Before Guy could respond, Lee stepped forward with a wide grin. "Naruko-chan, I admire your choice. It was a very spirited gesture. However, I do hope you'll show me your full strength next time. I'd like to see your Cage Bunshin in action." Naruko smirked. "You got it, Lee. Tomorrow, I'll show you everything I've got," she added silently with a playful glint, "and maybe even surprise you a little." "Youthful energy," Guy shouted enthusiastically. "Excellent. But now it's time for cooldown exercises." "Yes, Guy-sensei." Both Shinan responded in unison, and all three began their end-of-session jog. The next day, Naruko's clones proved to be a game-changer during the spar. Since the beginning of their training, Asuma-sensei had worked closely with her on coordinating attacks between multiple shadow clones, focusing on creating pressure points that an opponent simply couldn't dodge unless there was a major skill gap. For fairness, though, they reinstated the no ninjutsu rule for future matches. Their regular training sessions soon settled into a structured schedule: 90 minutes of warm-up, an hour of focus style-specific training under Guy-sensei's guidance, nearly 2 hours of sparring, and 45 minutes of cooldown work. A few weeks after their first match, Naruko had advanced enough to land hits on Lee occasionally. At their current level, the two exchanged blows almost evenly, with each spar typically ending in a friendly draw. Back in the present, Team 7 stood before the Hokage after delivering groceries to Yamada-san. When Naruko handed her the bag, she noticed the older woman didn't give her the usual wary glance. 6 weeks of hard work doing community-oriented missions seemed to be gradually changing people's opinions about her. Even though these D-rank tasks were helping improve her image, Naruko was more than ready for something new. As they stood before the Hokage, she silently made a promise to ask for a higher-ranked mission as soon as this one was officially completed. "Well done, Team 7, the Hokage praised. That makes 90 D-rank missions in under a month and a half." Naruko's ears perked up. Was the Hokage reading her mind? She glanced over and saw Ino and Kiba looking equally excited. Realizing the decision would come from their team leader, they all turned to Asuma-sensei, their eyes filled with hopeful energy. Asuma chuckled at their eager expressions. "Sure. I think they're ready for something more advanced." Before he could blink, his students were wrapped around him in a group hug. "Thank you, Asuma-sensei." They chorused happily. The Hokage laughed heartily. "It seems your team is more than prepared. A new request came in earlier today. I want the 4 of you packed and outside the village gates no later than 5:30. He handed Asuma a scroll marked clearly with a rank. Naruko, sharp-eyed and full of anticipation, caught the label easily from across the room. B rank. Her smile widened. Team 7's first B-rank adventure. The young Genin of Team 7 stood gathered at Konoha's main gate, each carrying a full backpack along with their usual gear. As expected, they had arrived ahead of time and were now waiting for their sensei, who, unlike a certain gray-haired jonin they'd met once, was known for being punctual. B-rank. 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 We're going on a B-rank mission. Naruko Uzumaki twirled excitedly, her golden ponytails bouncing with each hop. Her celebration was cut short when her teammate lightly tapped her head with a playful scolding. Alright, we get it already, Naruko. Now settle down, Ino said with a smile. Even though she acted annoyed, her tone made it clear she was just as excited about their new mission. Kiba, standing with his loyal companion Akamaru, grinned. A B-rank mission. Wouldn't it be cool if it involved helping track down someone who ran off with something important from a feudal lord or something? Asuma-sensei arrived just in time to bring their imaginations back to earth. Sorry, everyone. It's labeled B-rank because of its importance, not because of any expected danger. He could see the slight disappointment on their faces. But we will be visiting an allied hidden village, so it's still going to be interesting. Naruko's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Really? Which village? Is it sand? Waterfall? Smoke? Or? It's one of the smaller, lesser-known villages, Asuma interrupted with a chuckle. We're heading to the Hidden Tree Village. Ha, never heard of that one. Naruko tilted her head, her excitement easing into curiosity. Kiba teased her with a grin. How do you even know about the other villages, Naruko? You totally zoned out in geography class. Hey! I know about them because I studied the alliances the Hokages made. So where's Hidden Tree anyway? Naruko turned to Asuma, asking a little more quietly. It's in the mountain country, to the northeast, Asuma replied, knowing she appreciated the extra help when it came to directions. Ino raised an eyebrow. If we're going northeast, why are we at the west gate? Wouldn't it make more sense to leave from the east? They all looked at Asuma, expecting the answer, and already guessing what it would be. Scratching the back of his head sheepishly, the jonin replied, well, there wasn't any rush, and the other gates are such a hassle. The Genin exchanged amused but knowing looks. Even after weeks of training under him, Asuma's laid-back nature still came through from time to time, though he did try to set a good example most of the time. After a quick check-in with the Chunin guards at the gate, the team set off. Dash. As the team moved swiftly through the treetops, Kiba called from the front of the formation, so, Sensei, what exactly is the mission? It's a Type 4 aid request from the Hidden Tree Village, Asuma explained. A Type 4 meant the situation was important but not urgent, and didn't involve conflict. Kiba glanced back to see if his teammates understood. Naruko and Ino nodded, of course they had. He reminded himself, not for the first time, that Naruko was sharper than she let on. She probably remembered what a Type 4 meant before he did. It was something Iruka-sensei had covered back at the academy. Asuma continued, we're meeting a guide from Hidden Tree at an inn about 35 miles from here. They'll escort us the rest of the way and fill us in on the details. They also specifically asked for a ninja skilled in mental techniques and one with unusually high chakra reserves. So, basically, they asked for Ino and Naruko by name, Kiba muttered. Akamaru gave a soft bark. What if it's a trap? Before Kiba could speak the concern aloud, Asuma added reassuringly, and don't worry, no one would try anything during an official aid mission. That would be considered a serious breach of trust. Hidden Tree is a peaceful village, and they wouldn't take that risk. They chatted lightly as they continued, Naruko enthusiastically telling the story of how she convinced Konohamaru to dye his grandfather's robes orange. Her storytelling was animated as always, and everyone found themselves laughing. Hey, Sensei, Kiba asked, how long do you think it'll take us to get there? At our current pace? Probably 5 or 6 days. That was quite a stretch to spend in the constant company of 3 others, but Kiba figured it could be worse. He was glad it was his team. As long as Naruko and Ino didn't argue too much and Asuma could maybe go a few days without his usual habits, things would be fine. Honestly, he wouldn't trade his team for anything. Dash. A few hours passed, and as the sky darkened, Asuma called for them to stop and set up camp. Though he could be easygoing, Asuma often used travel time as a chance to build their field skills. Kiba and Akamaru led the group toward a nearby river. Clean water and bathing options were essential when traveling on long missions. Naruko, with help from her shadow clones, helped pitch the tents and organize the campsite. She also returned with the deer she'd located nearby, which Ino, being the only one who actually knew how to cook, prepared for dinner. She had long since given up on extreme dieting. Training as a ninja had taught her the value of balanced meals. Since they were still relatively close to the village, there was no need to worry about attracting unwanted attention. Any nearby travelers or troublemakers wouldn't pose much of a threat to a properly trained Jinan team. Naruko volunteered to take both the early night and early morning watch. She was usually awake during those times anyway. Asuma took the late night shift. With the campfire crackling softly beside them, the group chatted for a while longer before settling in for the night, the stars twinkling above them as their mission truly began. Ino realized she'd made a small mistake in setting up her tent. She had unknowingly placed it facing the morning sun, which now streamed directly through the entrance flap and warmed her face. It wasn't the worst way to wake up, but it certainly wasn't ideal. Still, there was no going back to sleep now. From nearby, she could hear the unmistakable sound of sparring, poofs of dissipating clones and the rhythmic thud of movement through the forest air. It had to be Naruko training again. With a stretch and a deep breath of fresh air, Ino stepped out of the tent. The summer morning breeze swept away the last remnants of sleep. The sun was already shining brightly, promising a warm day ahead. Thankfully, most of their time would be spent moving through the trees, where the combination of shade and wind would keep them comfortable. Following the familiar sound of movement and clone dispersals, Ino walked through the woods, brushing aside branches and leaves until she reached a clearing. Just as she stepped out of the trees, she called out a greeting. "Morning, Naru." She stopped mid-word, eyes going wide. "Naruko, what are you doing?" One of the many clones turned to answer, but immediately vanished in a puff of smoke. Another spoke up. "Just sparring." That one disappeared too. "I see that," Ino said, flustered, "but why are you not dressed properly?" Indeed, nearly all the Narukos in the clearing wore nothing but their shorts, decorated in ramen bowl patterns, and chakra weights. Her clothing was folded neatly to the side. Ino could hardly believe it. Though she already knew her teammate was physically fit from years of training, seeing it so clearly caught her off guard. Naruko, despite her usual carefree personality, was impressively athletic. Her form was lean and strong from years of hard work. One of the clones, still active, called out, "Oh, that? I went for a quick rinse in the river earlier and was just waiting to dry off before getting dressed again." Poof. Ino blinked. "That's what towels are for. Go get dressed." "Why yes, Ino." They all shouted in unison, quickly scrambling toward the pile of clothing. After a brief, comedic struggle over the garments, the real Naruko remembered she could simply dispel the extras and dress herself properly. Ino sighed, rubbing her temples. Any hopes of easing into the morning had vanished, replaced by the mental image of a half-dressed Naruko and the pure chaos of her training routine. The rest of their journey passed relatively quietly, save for a moment when Naruko, excited about entering a new country for the first time, cheered loudly, accidentally startling a peacefully grazing animal. The situation was resolved without issue, and they moved on. Dash. Oh 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 ooh. Eventually, Team 7 arrived at the Dancing Horse Inn. Waiting for them was another team of Jinan from the Tree Village. After introductions, the Tree team began to guide the Konoha group to their village. As they traveled, conversations naturally formed among the teams. Asuma-sensei walked with the Tree Village's Jonin, a calm and poised green-eyed woman named Kasumi. Kiba became immersed in a discussion about trap tags with the only boy on the Tree team, Mika Toshiro, while Ino enjoyed chatting with Tsuchi Yumiko, a friendly girl with brown hair and hazel eyes. It was a nice change to talk about casual things for once, especially with another girl. Naruko, meanwhile, was approached by the final member of the Tree team, a striking kunoichi named Fujiwara Hikari. Dressed in an elegant, colorful kimono rather than typical shinobi wear, Hikari had silver hair styled in a neat bun and captivating orange eyes that gave her an air of quiet mystery. "The first thing you should know," Hikari said calmly, "is that you're truly unique." "Huh?" Naruko tilted her head in confusion. "I have a gift," Hikari explained. "It was granted to me by the Great Tree. I can sense who someone truly is at their core. Most people fall into one of 42 unique categories, based on their spirit, character, and intentions. You, Naruko, are part of all 42. Naruko blinked, completely baffled. "Wait. So you're saying I'm, like, all kinds of people at once?" "Not exactly. It means you have the potential to become or relate to any kind of person. You hold possibilities that stretch across all paths." Naruko paused, absorbing that. "That's kind of awesome. Also, what's the Great Tree?" "You'll see soon," Hikari said with a knowing smile. But just so you know, I'm talking about you, not anything sealed inside of you. Naruko's mood shifted instantly. She stepped back, guarded and tense. Her expression tightened. How do you know about that? She asked, her voice quiet but serious. I told you, Hikari replied, still calm. I can see things others can't. But I won't tell anyone. I promise. Naruko relaxed slightly. Thanks. And sorry if I got a little defensive. That's a sensitive subject. It's okay, Hikari said sincerely. It makes sense that you'd be protective about it. They walked in silence for a while before Naruko asked, so what's it like? Seeing people like that? Hikari gave a soft, distant smile. It's complicated. It's a gift, yes. But also a burden. People often try to hide who they are, even from themselves. Seeing through those masks can be painful. You mean like, it actually hurts? Hikari nodded. Emotionally, yes. Sometimes even physically. It's like my heart feels their struggle. And many people are afraid of me because of it. They worry I'll see something they're not ready to face. Naruko looked at her in understanding. You know, that sounds a lot like my life too. People keeping their distance because of something I didn't choose. There was a quiet pause before Naruko smiled. If you want, I can be your friend. Hikari's eyes widened, genuinely surprised. Then she smiled warmly. I'd really like that. Thank you, Naruko. You're welcome. They continued on in peace. A few moments later, Hikari gestured ahead. You're about to see something incredible. And she was right. As they reached the top of a gentle ridge, the trees suddenly parted, revealing a vast, bowl-shaped valley. In the center stood a tree so massive that words barely did it justice. It stretched higher than anything Naruko had ever seen, wider than any building in Konoha. Even from this distance, they could spot tiny figures moving around its base, people, dwarfed by the immense trunk. That's the great tree, Hikari said with pride. It's over 30 miles tall and houses our entire village. Homes, shops, training grounds, everything is built into it. The tree provides us shelter, food, even protection. As Team 7 regained their composure, they followed the tree ninja toward the enormous trunk. Dash. Oh 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 ooh. Up close, the great tree was even more awe-inspiring. Its bark was as wide as mountains, and it was impossible to see the top. Ino glanced around in wonder, taking in the platforms, ropes, and wooden stairs that lined the sides like a natural maze. People moved along the platforms easily, going about their lives as though living inside a massive tree was the most normal thing in the world. Impressive, isn't it? Yumiko said beside her. It's unbelievable, Ino replied honestly. We owe everything to the great tree, Yumiko continued. It protects us and provides for us, but only because we made a promise to protect it in return. That's why we met you outside. If you had come here without a guide, the tree itself would have kept you from getting close. That raised a question in Ino's mind. Wait, what do you mean? It's a tree, isn't it? Yumiko grinned. Not just any tree. The great tree is alive, truly sentient. Our ancestors made a bond with it, and we've honored that ever since. The group continued their climb up the trunk using chakra to walk vertically. All around them were more platforms, staircases, and entrances leading deeper into the tree. As they ascended, Ino noticed a subtle tension in the air. The villagers moved with purpose, but also with concern, like something was weighing heavily on everyone's minds. Only Hikari seemed unaffected, calm as ever, walking just beside Naruko, who looked thoughtful. Ino made a mental note to ask Naruko about what had happened earlier in the woods. Yumiko had explained that Hikari often said things others found unsettling, but Ino had never seen Naruko react so intensely before. Whatever it was, something had definitely changed. Kiba glanced around, Akamaru perched comfortably on his head, as the group made their way down a long corridor carved within the great tree. The path was illuminated by torches spaced evenly along the wooden walls, casting a warm, flickering glow. He turned to Toshiro with a skeptical look. Isn't that kind of, risky? He asked, nodding toward the flames protruding from the wood. You mean the fire? Toshiro replied with a small smile. It's not as dangerous as it looks. The tree isn't like ordinary wood, it doesn't catch fire easily. To demonstrate, he took a torch and lightly pressed the flame against the wall. As he said, the fire left only a faint mark and didn't spread. Do you really think we'd build our whole village inside something that could be damaged so easily by simple fire jutsu? Kiba had to admit, when put that way, it did make sense. Then something else caught his attention. A small basin of water jutted from the wall, constantly trickling over the sides and onto the floor, where it was absorbed directly into the tree. Kiba and Akamaru had smelled water throughout the tunnel, but this was the first visible source. "Where's that water coming from?" he asked. "Trees need water to thrive," Toshiro explained. "The great tree shares some of the water its roots collect. Whatever we don't use just goes back into the tree naturally." Kiba nodded slowly. "Makes sense. But isn't that still a strain on the tree?" Toshiro chuckled. "The entire village only takes a fraction of what it absorbs. The tree takes care of us, and in return, we care for the tree." "All right, got it," Kiba said, falling quiet as the two walked in silence. Eventually, Kiba spoke again, unable to keep his thoughts to himself. "So what are we really doing here? Your village seems fine, I don't see why you'd need help from Konoha, especially a team like ours." Despite how normal everything looked, something about the mission continued to bother him. "It's not my place to explain," Toshiro replied as they came to the end of the hallway. It opened into a wide, circular chamber. It looked like it was used for meetings. Even with only torchlight, the space was surprisingly bright. Around the room, about 20 people sat on a curved bench built several feet in from the walls. 3 other tunnels fed into the chamber, on the left, the right, and at the back. Kasumi, a middle-aged man seated in the center of the group, addressed their guide as they stepped into the room. "Are these the ones Konoha has sent?" Kasumi kneeled respectfully. "Yes, honorable council member." The room filled with soft murmurs. "Didn't expect them to be so young. A Jinan team. Are they really up to this?" Kiba bit back a retort. As much as he wanted to respond, he knew better. These were high-ranking members of another village. Saying something out of turn could create problems. Still, he didn't have to say anything. He knew Naruko would speak up for them. "Hey! You're the ones who requested our help. Someone with strong mind techniques and someone with a large chakra reserve. Well, guess what? We're the only team in Konoha that fits that request. Whether we know the details or not, it's obvious your village needs help, just look around. So how about, instead of doubting us, you tell us what we're here to do?" As expected, Naruko had spoken up boldly, standing tall and unwavering. She had a way of defending her team while demanding answers, all without crossing any major lines. The council fell silent, clearly surprised by the kunoichi's outburst. Their teacher, Asuma-sensei, gently reminded Naruko to be more respectful when addressing foreign leaders, but everyone present knew that if she felt the need, Naruko would stand her ground again. Kasumi, still kneeling, introduced the team. "Honorable Council, the kunoichi with the mind techniques is Yamanaka Ino, heir to her clan. And Asuma-san here has informed me that the young ninja who just spoke is named Naruko. She holds an extraordinary amount of chakra." Kiba blinked. He'd always known Naruko had a lot of energy, but more than anyone else in the village? That was surprising, even to him. There was more murmuring, though Kiba couldn't make out the words. Then, suddenly, a silver-haired kunoichi, Hikari, if Kiba remembered correctly, bowed deeply, both hands on the floor. "Please, Honorable Council. I assure you that Naruko has the chakra needed. If you truly value the well-being of our village, then please accept their assistance." An older woman rose slowly, narrowing her eyes at Hikari. "How dare you question this council? And swearing your loyalty like that, your position is nothing special here." Before anyone could react, Naruko had stepped forward, her chakra visibly forming small wisps around her. She wasn't saying anything, but her presence alone was enough to draw attention. Asuma gently held her back, silently reminding her to keep her cool. Half the council had leapt to their feet, voices raised in confusion or concern. Then, the man at the center of the group stood and calmly raised his hand. "Order," he said quietly, but somehow, his voice carried through the room like a powerful wind. The effect was immediate. The atmosphere grew heavy, as though the very air had thickened. Everyone, including the one who had spoken out, was pressed gently to their knees. There was no chakra, it felt like the tree itself was watching. After a moment, the pressure lifted. The man looked to the older woman who had insulted Hikari. "Council member Hisaka, for violating Law 135, your removal from the council is now put to a vote." Each member voted, almost without hesitation. Kiba noticed the generational divide. Most younger members voted for her removal. The final result, 14 in favor, 6 opposed. "Very well," the man announced. "Former council member Hisaka, you are dismissed." As she exited the chamber, her eyes briefly met Hikari's. The expression she wore was sharp, but she said nothing. The man turned to the rest of the council. Does anyone else question Hikari's words? No one responded. Then we are agreed. Konoha's team is to be trusted. Now, Konoha Ninja, allow me to explain. The reason we asked for your help is this: the great tree, the life source of our home, is weakening. And we believe only your team can help us restore it. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more anime vibes coming your way. Much love. 6 Path Weeb.